Hello, everyone, and welcome to another little tech breakdown episode here. Today, we're going to be talking about the Roland R-44 recording device. It is a 4-channel isolated input recorder, and today we're going to go over the basic setup and operation of the machine. In a separate video, we're going to talk about naming of files and file structure in this, just because that gets a little bit complicated, and everyone does it a little bit differently. But the basic operation is pretty much going to be the same for everyone. So let's go ahead and take a look here at our device. So first off, let's go ahead and put an SD card in there. So on the side, we have this little flap here. I'm going to open that flap and just take that SD card. And first off, make sure that that card, the little prong there or little slider is slid up. The up is in the unlocked position. If it's down in the locked position, that means that the machine won't write to the card. So if you put it in there and you get an error or anything like that, just double check that little slot there and make sure that that slider is up. So we'll go ahead and put the card into the machine there. You have to press it all the way in until it clicks into place, and then it is in the machine. In order to remove it, just press it again. It'll lift up a little bit. It's kind of spring-loaded there, and then you can just remove the card like so. So we'll go ahead and insert the card there, close the flap, and we'll take a look at the top panel here. So to power it up, I'm going to hold the power button. Notice I have to hold it for just a few seconds until this screen lights up. Once the screen lights up, you can let go of the power and you'll know it's ready to go. So let's take a little tour around some of the switches and buttons you need to be familiar with. Up here, we have the phantom power switches. Those phantom powers supply electricity to each of those 4 power slots, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you have 4 switches, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that will supply the electricity to each one of those microphones independently. Then we have the hold switch here. The hold switch is basically a safety. So if you turn that on, it's basically just going to mean that any of the buttons that you hit aren't going to do anything. You'll see the little hold warning light pop up. So you just need to turn that hold off in order to operate. Most of the time you leave that off unless you're just afraid you're going to hit the buttons accidentally or something like that. Next, we have the low cut filter. That's going to get rid of your low rumbly sounds. On this machine, I believe it is right around 160 hertz that it kicks in. So anything below 160 is going to start rolling off there. Next, we have the limiter. On this machine, the limiter kicks in at -10, so do be aware of that. If you are going to click that on, you do need to make sure that your levels are staying below -10 to avoid that limiter really affecting anything. This machine is really more of a compressor than a limiter. So it's not a hard brick wall at 10, but it does start affecting the sound quality at -10. So definitely be aware of that. Next, we have we talked about the power. We have the effects. Effects, I don't recommend you really use on this machine because it does hard code any effects that you do. So any choir, reverb, chorus, things like that. If you do it in this machine, you can never take that off again. So it's much better to do that stuff in post-production. So I usually just ignore that. If you do turn any of the effects on accidentally, this button will light up yellow. So you'll know that the effects are on and you know you're affecting your recording. Next, these little circle buttons all work together. So we have a menu button, enter, exit, this little scroll wheel here, and then these arrows here, these 4 buttons here. They do get kind of confusing because they are labeled with 2 different things. We want to look at the bottom here where it has the arrows going left, up, down, and right. So in order to get into your menus and navigate things, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the menu button just to bring up the menu or to get into the menu options there. You'll use your arrow buttons to navigate up and down and around your menus. So I can use the arrow down to go down in the menu. I can use the arrow up to go up in the menu. And then you're going to use the enter to select any of those menu options. And then actually to change any of the menu option there, you're going to need to use the scroll wheel here. So you roll up or roll down, and that will change the option that you need to change. And then you hit the enter button to save that, and then hit exit to exit back out, exit once more to get to the main screen. And when you're recording, you do usually want to be on this main screen here. You always want to be able to see your levels when you're recording, and we'll talk about that a little bit later later in the video here. Next, we have your playback buttons. So if you do need to listen back to anything that you've recorded already, you can just hit the pause button and that will play the last track you recorded. You can hit next or previous to jump to one track or the next, or you can even hit the enter button or the finder button, and that will bring up your list of files here. This card is blank. I did format it prior to the video, so there are no files listed on here currently, but once we actually start recording files, you will see those listed there. And then you can again use that same process of the arrows in the scroll wheel to go up and down to select them and to play them back. Next, these buttons here are going to be some of the most important. Display is just going to change the information that's on the display. I have found it useful in just hitting it once, zooms into your meters. So if you are all the way out in the standard display mode, you can see between negative, where are we here? You can see between negative 48 all the way up to 0. If you zoom in, you can see between 24, negative 24 and 0. So it just gives you a little bit more accuracy. But you do need to make sure that you know that you're zoomed in, because if you were recording down here at negative 30 or so, it just wouldn't be registering, or you wouldn't see it on the meters, but you would actually be recording it. So, just be aware that you can be seeing either the whole meter or a partial meter just by pressing that display button. Next, we have the stop, pause, and record buttons. Those are going to be working together. So there's kind of a little oddity about this machine. It's actually pretty common in a lot of recording devices, but basically this machine is, if I was to plug my headphones into this recorder and plug the microphone in and get everything turned on and set up, I still wouldn't be hearing anything. In order to hear this machine, you have to arm it. You have to put it in what's called record standby mode. So in order to put it in record standby mode, you want to hold the pause button and then hit the record button. Well, I hit that too many times and you see it went actually into recording. So again, you want to hold that pause button and just hit that record button. Try not to wiggle anything. And you'll see that the record button is blinking red. That means that the machine itself is not yet recording, but I should be able to hear through the headphone jack here. So if I press stop again, you'll see that that light goes off and I didn't actually record anything. My meters are still at 0 here. 0 is across my time code. So I didn't record anything, but now I can't listen with it not in that standby mode. So again, in order for me to hear anything, even without recording, I need to put it in record standby mode. So I'm going to hold the pause button and hit that record button, and I should see that blinking. Another good thing to double check is that your numbers here, your time code, is not yet spinning. If you see that counting up, 1, 2, 3, 4, you are actually recording then. And if you see this light go solid red, so I'll hit that now, you see that go solid red. Now we are actually recording. It's counting up. We can see those meters going up and down because it's going from the internal mics right now. But then in order to cut, we need to hit the stop button. So I'm going to hit the stop button there. Just to show you, if you wanted to, you don't have to go into record standby mode. You can just hit record right away, and then it will start automatically recording that sound. The problem with that is you don't get to monitor things. You don't get to check things and make sure that your levels are good before you start recording. So it is always a good idea to hold pause and hit record, put it into record standby. Usually if you're on a film set, they'll ask you if sound is ready. When sound is ready, you'll go ahead and put it in standby. And then when they say roll sound, you'll go ahead and hit that record button again and actually roll the sound and tell them sound is speeding. Then in order to cut, you want to make sure you hit that stop button. The problem is sometimes if you're in a hurry or not paying attention, you might accidentally hit the pause button instead. That will halt the recording. You see the numbers stop spinning there. But when I hit record again, now it's recording to that same file. So if you hit the pause button, it'll keep recording or will start recording again, but it won't make a new file, which is going to be really annoying if you're on a film set and you're breaking that up for an editor. If you give a sound editor or an editor one file with like 20 takes in it, that's going to be really annoying for them to go in and chop up every single take. So make sure that you hit the stop button. The other nice thing is that this machine does a little bit of automatic naming for you, so that when you do hit that stop button, it will then create a new file with a new name for that next recording that you do. So it just really helps with organization. It helps with the flow of things. So just make sure you're hitting that stop button once you're done. Okay, well, that should be pretty much everything you need to know for the overview here. Tune in next time and we will go through setting the levels. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.